Hey everybody, it's Tim Hepworth here with Thursday Night Live Fly Tying and Fly Fishing Boat Outfitters, and I'm here to bring you another quick tie. Tonight we are working on the Hendricksons Sparkle Dun. We are doing the Western Dark Hendrickson tonight. As you can see, it's quite a dark Mayfly pattern. I'm going to be tying out of my kit tonight, my Season 4 kit. So if you don't have one of these already, you can still go over to our website and pick one up. www.flyfishingboatriver.com/TNLS4. You can still pick one up today. As well, guys, please like and subscribe to this video. Let us know that you're watching along. If you're part of the replay squad, we want to know that you're here. If you hit that little bell icon, it'll also notify you every time we put out another video, which is to your advantage to do as well. So tonight we're doing episode 15 of season 4. It's crazy how fast the season's going by. We're almost to the end. Let's head on over to the vise. We'll get working on this one. So tonight I'm tying this. This is going to be a size 14 dry fly hook. I'm going to be using a kind of a goldish coppery brown color. This is a UTC 70. I'm going to start my thread just behind the eye. Now I want to lay down a nice little layer of thread. I'm going to take this back about halfway down the side of the hook, and now I'm going to bring it up to about 2 eye lengths behind the eye is where I'm going to leave it. Go ahead and trim the tag end of your thread off. And now we're going to move on. There's only a few materials here. We are only going to use some Sparkle Dun deer hair or some coastal deer hair. And then we're going to be using a little bit of this antron. Okay, we're going to have some dark brown antron and then some dark colored dubbing. Okay, so very few materials, but we're going to start off by working with the deer hair. Lots of people are scared to tie these patterns, these what we call Sparkle Dun wings. So we're using some deer hair to create the wing that we're tying. So as you can see in this little guy here, okay? So we're using that the deer hair to make the wing. It's not complicated if you follow a few easy steps, okay? So let's go ahead. Let's grab out of your kit there. You'll see you have a little patch like this. Let's go and grab about a half a pencil width thickness off of that patch. We can adjust how much we have if we need to after we stack it. But go ahead. Always cut off a little bit more than you're going to need in case when you clean it out you lose some of it. So I've got a decent little clump like this. I'm going to start off by coming in here, getting out any of that under fur. You can grab a comb if you need to, whatever helps you get it out. Sometimes even just a Velcro patch on the end of a tongue depressor like that works quite well. You can clean out any of that under fur, pick out any of the loose hairs. I'm left with something that looks like this, so I'm going to go ahead and stack this. So I'm going to grab my hair stacker. Always putting in tips first if we're stacking those tips. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tap down. When I pull these out, I actually want to pull them out pointed forward because I'm going to tie in this deer hair, kind of different than we normally do, but I'm going to tie it in facing forward. So when I pull it out, I want to make sure that those tips are good and stacked. I'm going to pull that out. Again, I'm going to make sure I got all that under fur out. That's going to be a tad bit too much hair for this wing. So I'm going to keep that stacked, but I'm going to keep it slightly pinched and then just go in and pull out a few. And you just get good at working with your fingers to kind of move back and forth. And now once I have it, the amount that I think I want. If you go a little heavy on the wing, that's totally fine. This is a low riding Mayfly, sorry. So the wing is pretty much the only thing keeping it in that surface film. So if you're a little bit heavy on the wing, it's not the end of the world. Now what we want to do is we want to measure a wing that is roughly the overall length of the hook shank. Now personally, I like to go a little bit smaller. I like to have a little bit shorter wing. I find that when I really do a full hook length, I end up over tying with a too tall of a wing. So I'm going to just adjust that in my head a little bit. I'm going to move it to my tie-in point. I'm going to draw it back just slightly. And now I'm pinching really tight because I don't want this deer hair to spin around the hook shank. Okay. So I'm going to take a thread wrap. I'm going to take 1, 2, and 3 and just let the weight of the bobbin hang down. Then I'm going to come and grab this deer hair and make sure that it's all stacked up right up on top of the hook shank itself, okay? And then I'm going to pull down. You can see that flared that hair a little bit. I'm going to take a couple more thread wraps, flaring that hair. And for the most part, it looks like it stayed up on top of the hook shank, which is where I want it to be. I always like to push in with my thumb and imagine how broad that wing is going to look. I got a good, decent amount of hair there. We'll worry about coming back to that later. So what I want to do here is I want to come in and I want to trim this off as close as possible, okay? Get that trimmed right as tight as possible on that deer hair. And then I'm going to start working some thread wraps through the butts, okay? Making a nice little tapered ramp down to the hook shank. I'm going to come back up and over. And it's okay, you're going to bind a few of those kind of rogue hairs here and there. But for the most part, this is where we want to be right now, okay? In a traditional catskill tied fly, we leave a little bit of space in front of the eye anyways, or behind the eye, sorry. And I left that room there because we're going to be using some dubbing to prop up this wing. And in the traditional style of tying this fly, we also leave some space behind that eye, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some thread wraps down. I'm going to lay just a nice thread layer just back to the bend of the hook. And then I'm going to bring it forward to right at the base of the butts there, okay? Now I'm going to head over to my other material. So I'm going to be taking this Antron, Zelon works as well. This just happens to be Antron. Like so. I'm going to grab just a clump of it, or sorry, like a patch of it. I don't need a ton. When I pull this down tight, I like to imagine the body of the Mayfly so I went from having this fluffy like this, and all I did was twist my fingers. I twist it, and I see it looks like a rope. And if that size of rope looks pretty close to the size of what I imagine this Mayfly body to look like, I'm pretty close to what I want to be. I'll let it come and furrow out. First thing I want to do is come in here, trim this so it's flush, okay? And now how I'm going to tie this in is I'm going to leave a little bit of extra up into the deer hair. That's going to be hopefully the same height as the deer hair. So I'm going to leave that up in there like so. I'm going to tie this down right there. And if it's a little tall, it looks like just a smidge, I'll pull it back just a bit. Now I like where that's sitting. And I'm going to take some thread wraps forward, right up against that deer hair, and then hold onto it as I work back down the fly. This is going to create that nice, even underbody just to the top of the hook bend, and I'm going to leave it there, okay? Now, let's go ahead and trim this tail right off the start here. And we want this to be trimmed roughly the same distance as the hook point to the shank. So we just call this, that's the gap, right? The hook gap. Hook gap in length behind. Going to trim it off like so. Okay? You can discard that material. That's all we're going to use of that one for now. Now we're going to go over to our dubbing. This is a very light dubbing. Not light in color, but light as in it's like a dry fly dubbing. Okay? So I'm going to grab just little wisps of it. I don't want to do much more than just color my thread, as I did choose quite a dark thread anyways. This is pretty much colored as we want it to be. We just don't want to create a ton of bulk on this fly. So the body of these Mayflies are not super thick, not super big. So I'm just going to make a dubbing noodle that's maybe 2 to 3 inches long. If I need to add a little bit more, I will. Spin it nice and tight with your fingers. Okay? And now I'm just going to start working forward. All the way up to the back where I left this deer hair. Okay, right to there. Okay, now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to now add a little bit more dubbing to my dubbing noodle. I'm going to create maybe add another inch in total. Same thing, just a nice wisp. Coloring your thread. Something like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this deer hair up, and I'm going to pass underneath it, and I'm going to take a couple wraps of dubbing right there. I'm going to cross back over behind it. Okay, so I'm kind of covering up all the underside of that deer hair, coming back up to the front. And when I get here, I'm going to take that thumb and I'm going to spread it back out. So I'm going to try to twist this a little bit for you so you can see. It's going to go out of focus, but you can see that it's a fan. So it looks like it's a broad fan versus just a clump of deer hair straight up in the air. So if you look at it like that, it spreads out. You can imagine taking it and spreading it like in this direction. Okay. So it imitates those Mayfly wings. It stands tall, but it also is spread out in that direction, okay? So it's kind of like almost a little bit like a rainbow, right? We're just going to start. It's going to be a half moon. Once we've done that, now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more thread wraps with this dubbing. I'm going to prop it up against that wing because I want that wing to stand quite vertical. And then I'm going to just slowly work my way forward, finish with just a little bit of space behind that eye. Go ahead and grab your whip finish tool. Whoops. Get one more wrap there. It came undone on us. That extra wrap. Come in here with your whip finish. You can take a touch of resin on there if you like. I'm just going to do a couple of whip finishes here, knowing that that's not going to come out done on me. Like so. And then if you have any rogue hairs or you have any materials that kind of went out on their own, this would be a good time to come in and just get them back to where they want to be. Okay. There you have it, guys. That is our Hendricksons Sparkle Dun Dun referring to the age of the mayfly and where it's sitting in the water column. This is a low riding mayfly. Compare dun wing, as you see, is not that complicated. Don't be scared of it. Give it another try. I'm going to take this and just point it at you real quick so you can see how that fans out. Okay, that's how we want that wing to appear. I guarantee the trout are going to like it. Keep lots of different colors of these in a few different sizes, and you'll get yourself on some fish. Again, everybody, my name's Tim Hepworth here with Fly Fishing Boat Outfitters and Thursday Night Live Fly Tying. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Until next week on another quick tie, have a great week, everybody.